So, what in the world does the American mob have to do with the future of artificial intelligence? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a really fascinating essay that argues the connection is way deeper and honestly more dangerous than you might think.
So the author kicks things off with this really personal admission. He's watching a documentary about these old mafia bosses, and it hits him. This huge, powerful force in American history, something that literally shaped entire cities, has just vanished from our collective memory. It's gone. All right, first up, this forgotten history. The whole argument here is that we've kind of developed this societal amnesia about just how deep the mob's influence really ran. And to build this case, the essay points to a really surprising parallel between two huge laws from the middle of the 20th century. Both of them were designed to fight massive systemic corruption, but he argues we remember them in completely different ways. So on one hand, you've got the Civil Rights Act, which is, a central part of our national story. But on the other hand, there's the RICO Act, the very tool that was used to dismantle the mob's power. And according to the essay, it's almost completely faded from public memory. And this leads to a pretty powerful historical argument that, corruption wasn't just a Southern problem. The essay suggests that up in the industrial North, the mob's control over unions and city governments was every bit as pervasive and powerful as the segregationist system down in the South. So, how does all this forgotten history connect to today? Well, the author uses it as a lens to analyze a pretty well-known modern political figure who was shaped by that exact same environment. The argument here is that you really can't understand Donald Trump's public persona without understanding the world he came from. We're talking about the super competitive hardball culture of New York real estate development and its equally aggressive media scene. Just think about it for a second. In a city with only one big newspaper, there's pretty much one main story. But New York, totally different. The big takeaway is that Trump learned how to operate in a world where there were multiple competing versions of the truth in play every single day. And this was the media landscape he was playing in. I mean, with so many different outlets all competing, no single one of them could own the truth. The essay suggests this kind of fractured environment created a perfect opening for someone to just exploit the gaps and build their own story. And this all leads to the author's view of Trump not really as a politician, but more like a construction boss, someone who had to figure out how to navigate a world where the mob was just a practical reality of getting things done, from pouring concrete to hauling away the trash. Okay, so this whole history of navigating murky truths and these powerful behind-the-scenes forces, it's all the setup for the essay's real warning. It pivots from the hard mob of the past to a brand new threat the author calls the soft mob. So what is a soft mob? Yeah, forget about breaking kneecaps. This is all about using today's most sophisticated tools. We're talking PR, data, and especially AI, to systematically just muddy the waters, deny responsibility, and completely escape accountability. So how would this new kind of corruption actually work? The author lays out a really plausible playbook for this new information-based reality we're heading into. Okay, so picture this. A huge corporation gets accused of doing something wrong. Instead of just sending lawyers to a courtroom, they deploy an AI. This AI then generates thousands of pages of counterarguments, conflicting data, and what look like totally credible scientific studies. It creates so much noise that journalists and regulators, they can't find the signal. The truth just gets buried and nobody ever has to answer for anything. And the difference here is so critical. The hard mob, the old mob, controlled physical territory through fear. But the soft mob, it aims to control something way more abstract, the information space itself. And its weapon of choice, AI. It doesn't have a conscience. You can't intimidate it, and you definitely can't charge it with perjury. And this all brings us to the author's final, pretty chilling warning, which ties our forgotten past directly to our high-tech future. And here it is, the ultimate warning. By not remembering the systemic corruption of the hard mobs, we've left ourselves naive. Forgetting just how deeply corruption can dig its roots into our systems makes us dangerously unprepared for the soft mobs of tomorrow. And that right there is the question the author leaves us with. It's a real challenge to all of us to look back, to remember the real lessons of history, because the sophisticated threats of the future might just be old patterns all dressed up in new technology.